Hi everyone, I hope you're all well. So with wedding season in full swing, I thought it might be nice today to do a wedding guest makeup, something simple and elegant and have a little bit of definition, and also that'll bring you from day to night. It's really easy to do and it'll suit everybody. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's get started. We are going to start with our base. I already have my moisturizer on, so I'm going to go in with my Perfect Skin Foundation, which for me, if you have an event, is the best because you're going to put it on in the morning. It's going to feel so lightweight, but you're not going to need to touch it all day long. It is exactly what it says it is, the Perfect Skin Foundation. So I'm using shade 4 of our Perfect Skin. I tend to wear shade 4 when I have tan on, shade 3 when I don't have any on. So I'm going to put just 2 pumps out onto my buffer brush. I'm going to tip the hair behind the ears and then just tap it in nice and gently. The key with your base and wanting your base to last all day is not overloading it. So small amount, tap it in, and then just top it up or put on a little bit more wherever you feel you might need the coverage. But you don't have to put on loads of base to try and get it to last all day. It actually works in the reverse if you put too much on. If you put too much on, your skin can try and like sort of shine and sweat a little underneath and get a bit oily. So it can work against you. So if you just do a nice light layer and build where you need it, then it'll last all day and you won't need to touch it. Okay, so now that we have that nicely tapped in, I'm going to leave the base set for a second and just quickly brush through my brows before I go in with my concealer. So for my concealer, I'm using my shade 3 of our Instant Under Eye Concealer because it's slightly lighter than my base and it's going to lift and cover any redness or dark circles in the area. So I'm putting a little bit on the inside, small bit on the outer to lift, and then small bit just onto my lids because the lids do tend to get a little discolored. So we want to make sure they're nice and even. So using the other side of my double-ended brush, then I am going to tap that in. So you might notice I have a little tiny bit more concealer than I usually use today. But again, I want to have a nice bright under eye, and I want to make sure that I have nice full coverage as well. So because it's a full day event, I'm going a little bit more full coverage than I would say day to day because we're going a little bit more glam. I always like as well when you're doing a full day event makeup to think about the day. So if it's an early wedding, you may not want to have loads and loads of base on already. Like you want it to transition easily from day to night. And so that's why for me, the base always pretty much stays, the application of the base would pretty much stay as you would do your normal base. If you're not doing anything a whole lot different. Just maybe adding a little bit more coverage where you need to. See, I've got a little tiny spot there as well. So I'm actually going to go in with my shade 4 of my concealer, or just use a little bit of your foundation and just tap it in. Just get rid of it there. So I'll let that set and settle. So again, I'm going to run through the brows and just make sure there's no product in them at all. Okay, and then I'm going to go in with my Easy Brow Pencil in the shade Blonde just to fill in the brows. So just making sure to get any sparse areas and give myself a nice bit of shape, a nice bit of lift. I feel as well when you're doing a little bit on the eyes or you're doing a bit more of an event makeup, it's nice to give the brows that little bit of structure and a little bit of shape because they really frame the eye then for whatever eye makeup you tend or you end up going with. So you see the way it gives a lift to the face already. And then do the same the other side. Okay, so once my brows are done, I'm going to set them with a little bit of our brow gel and blonde as well. Again, because we have a long day ahead and we want to make sure that everything stays put all day long. So just putting that through it just means that the brows will stay perfectly natural and they will look great from the beginning of the day to whatever early hour you end up finishing up at the next morning. So I'm going to go in and do my lips quickly as well before we go on to do the base. I'm going to use my natural lip liner to give myself an outline and to shape the lip. I always tend to overdraw my lips because I do like to make them look a little bigger because I have small lips and I always just feel I need the little bit of something. So I'm going in with my Joy lipstick next then. As always, I just throw it into the middle of the lips, and then I'm going to go with a little bit of Joy gloss over it. Okay, so now that that's done, our base has had a little bit of time to set and settle. So I'm going to set my base just a little bit for now, and then we're going to set it again at the end, and I'll explain why in a few minutes. So I'm using our pressed powder in the shade medium, and I'm going to use my damp blender sponge with it. The reason I'm using a damp sponge rather than my powder brush here is because I really am trying to set that base. So I don't want it to look powdery, I don't want it to look heavy, I don't want it to look caked, but I want to make sure that I set the area and I knock back any shine in that area too. So the damp sponge will do that. It'll just make it look like your own skin, but it'll give it a perfect finish. So I'm just going into the T-zone, anywhere where you'd naturally shine, and especially around this area where we have kind of visible pores. I want to get rid of any of those before I do any blush or bronze. And the other thing as well is that I'm using medium underneath this area because obviously I have tan on. If you're paler, I'd go with the light because this could be a little dull underneath your eyes. But if I went with our light powder under here, I'd end up with that, like, you know, white triangle effect underneath my eyes, which I don't want, because we don't want to get a photo taken and have really bright under eyes, which tend to make you look more tired. And then I'm going to take a little bit just onto the lids to set everything there and give me a nice base before I go in with my eyeshadow. Okay, so that is perfect for now. So we're going to go in and give ourselves a little bit of colour on the face. So I'm going to use my Natural Glow palette, which, oh my goodness, I definitely need to give myself a new one. I'm going to go in with a bit of my bronze first and just pop that onto my angle contour brush and just give myself a little bit of shape on the side of my cheeks, or on my cheekbones rather. So I always start on the outer corner, or sorry, the outer part of my cheek, top of the ear, and work my way in. And you see the way I'm pressing it, always with my tapping motion, so that everything is basically getting buffed in as we go along. This is the key, like from my 20 years doing makeup at this stage, this is the one thing I would have always hammered home to my clients, is just tap it in, push it in, buff it into the skin as you go along. It's going to make sure everything stays put, stays where you want it, and it's not going to move or make your foundation budge. If I start going in with this motion, I'm moving and unsettling everything that's underneath it. I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that everything is set and it's going to stay there all day without me having to add layers of powder later in the day. And then I start on the outside because what I want is that by the time I get into here, it naturally fades away. So we get this gorgeous, really easy and, like, you know, gentle buffing out of the product so that it doesn't look harsh. There's nothing worse for me than harsh lines. So then just into the hairline, a little bit on the side of the nose, and then just on the jawline. I use a little bit on my chin as well because I've got a bit of a pointy chin. So now it's giving us a little bit of shape to the face. I'm going to go in with my Natural Glow blush and give myself a little smile, and then just tap it down and tap it out to the top of the ear. This is such a beautiful palette because it just, I think, is the prettiest colour and just looks so classy and healthy, and I just love it. It's so easy to use as well. It's totally buildable. If you like a stronger blush, you can go more with it, but it's perfect for that really gorgeous natural pinched cheek effect as well. Put a tiny bit just across the bridge of my nose just to marry the colours together. And then we're done with the cheeks. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay, so I'm not going to put on my Radiance cream just yet. I'm going to leave that till the end. We're going to do our eyes next. So we're taking it that we're going to a wedding. It's going to be a lovely day. It's day to night. So we want to make sure we have a little bit of definition, but we don't want to overpower it and go too dark, unless you want to, of course. But for today's video, we're going to do just a nice bit of definition, and we're going to make it a real pretty finish. So I'm using my Glamour Eyes palette today. Just in case you see here, this is a protective film on your mirror. So when you get your palette, you can take that off. So I just don't take them off because it reflects in the mirror or in the camera then. So I'm going to start with my light pink shade here. I'm going to take a bit up on my blender brush, and then I'm going to sweep that across my lid just to give me a nice little base for my eye makeup. Okay. Same on this side. What I can do then as well, or I should have maybe done first, is gone in with my lightest shade on my flat shadow and just give myself a little bit of definition there underneath the brow bone. Just adds a little lift and a little dimension to underneath that area. Next, I'm going to go in with my Pro Blender on my bronze sheen, I should say. Take a little bit of that up, shake off the excess, and I'm going to start out here in the corner, little tiny circular motions, making sure to hold that brush down low so that you're not putting too much force on the head of the brush so you don't get product everywhere. And then we're going to blend it into the crease. So this is starting to shape the eye for us. The key as well, I feel, is always to just build slowly. Like, it's so much easier to put it on than it is to take it off. So just go lightly until you're fully confident with the colors that you're using or the eye that you're doing, because there's nothing worse than if you go too heavy-handed and then you're trying to get rid of it. Okay, so just into the crease and blending upwards. Because I've started here, the majority of the product obviously is down on my lid, so it means then by the time I'm blending up and into the crease, it's just the remnants of it. So you're not going to have a heavy payoff here. You're just going to get a nice little bit of a shadow. So you can see the way it's starting to give the eye shape as well. Okay, so now that I have my base down, I'm going in with the same brush again, and I'm going into my deepest brown shade. I'm going to use that then to deepen down the corner. So you might be wondering, why did I bother going in with the bronze if I'm putting this over it? But it's because I need that bronze there as a transition color, so it doesn't look like just a block of heavy dark shadow. I've always just loved everything to just blend really seamlessly out. I love when it's blurred lines, everything's soft. I'm just not one for heavy lines or too much definition, because I think it can be aging and it can look a little harsh on the eye. So, you know, it's really down to your own preference, but I love this little bit of transition shade so that everything just melts into one another. Okay, so next I'm going to go in with a bit of my brown Kajal pencil, and I'm going to use this just on my upper lash line. So scribbling it into the upper lash line. I am absolutely not being neat with it at all because I'm so far away from my mirror that I can barely see anything. So this is the key, is just not to worry about being super neat. This is just my base for my bit of eyeliner that I'm going to do. Just scribble, scribble, scribble. And then I'm going to take my pencil brush and I'm going to use that then just to blend it out and buff it out. So I can use that to then drag it up a little on the eye to give myself a little bit of lift. But you see the way it just gives that gorgeous deepened down effect above the lash line, which makes the eye look nice and lifted. And it gives a gorgeous little bit of definition as well. So I'm just buffing it. You see I'm always again pushing it, like it's the tapping and the buffing of everything is really, really your magic secret sauce, I should say, really. So it's dragging it and it's just buffing it out. And I'm going to take a little bit of that and just very gently go down to the inner corner, just so that everything ties together. And then we'll do the same on this side. Whatever is left on my little pencil brush, I'm going to take underneath. So you'll have a little bit of that Kajal from buffing it out on your brush. So just take it underneath the eye to give a little bit of definition. And again, it just kind of brings everything together. Okay. Then I'm going to go in with my little smudger brush because I want to make that definition just a little stronger. I'm going to go in with my smudger and a bit of my darkest shade again and just go over that pencil. So again, I'm just tapping it down on top of the pencil into my lash line, just to give myself an extra little bit of definition. And then whatever's left over my brush, I'll just bring underneath the lower lash line. Okay, now that I have that done, I'm going to go in with a little bit of my Nude Kajal just on my inner waterline, just to really open the eye up. If you prefer a nice darker eyeline, go in with your brown or your black here, but again, I'm thinking day to night, I want it to work for both. So the little bit of light at the daytime I think is gorgeous to open the eye up a little bit. Okay, and so before I go in with my mascara, I am just going to go in again with my Pro Blender and a touch more of my bronze just into the outer corner, just to deepen it down a tiny bit more. I always feel as well, once you've the eyes done and you've your mascara on, even then you might look and think, I might go with a little bit more blush, or, you know, you might add a little something. But also one of the big things I used to say to people was always know when to stop as well, because you don't want, what you don't want really is that you're thinking, oh, well, this is a wedding, I must wear more than I usually do, and you overdo it. You don't. You need to feel your best. You need to feel comfortable. You need to feel like you just want to take pictures of yourself all day long. That's it. You just want to love yourself. So don't be thinking I have to layer on all this if it's unnecessary. Just do what makes you feel best. So I'm going to go in with my Total Lash Mascara on the bottom, as always, using brown on the bottom lashes. But then I'm going to go in on top with my Glamour Lengthening, because I want nice big lashes today, but I don't wear false lashes. So this is my false lash and a mascara trick. A little trick as well, just if you've done your eyeshadow and that, or if you've been a little heavy-handed, is just to run through your lashes first with your spoolie to make sure you have no excess powder in there. Because if you go in with your Glamour Lengthening mascara over the lashes and there is powder, because it's a tubing mascara, it's going to grab onto any powder and then you could get a little bit of clumpiness. So we don't want that. So we're going to go right to the root and drag it out. Hands down, the best mascara in the whole world. Totally not biased. Okay, so my mascara is on, and now I'm just going to tidy everything up and finish up. So with my cheeks, I think I'm going to go in with a little bit more of my Natural Glow pink, just to give myself an extra little bit of colour to the cheeks. Just a touch, not much. But like I said, when you put your mascara on, sometimes you can think, I could do it a tiny bit more. So just felt I could take a little bit more there. And then I'm going to go in with my Radiance Skin Cream on the top of my cheekbones. That's not my Radiance, there it is. A little bit of my Radiance Cream on top of the cheekbones to give that gorgeous glow that looks like your skin is just absolutely beaming, and it's so pretty and it's so gorgeous, and it just ties everything together for me. I just love it. Tinty bit on the front of the nose. And then my last piece, just because it's a wedding, it's a long day, we need to have everything stay in place, we don't want to be shiny, I'm going to put a touch more of my pressed powder with my sponge onto my chin, just in the areas again that you're prone to shine. Not much, but just a little touch, just so that we know it's going to stay in place and it's not going to move all day. This will be coming in my bag with me, and I'll bring a little powder brush just to top it up during the day, or one of our powder puffs. Something like that, that's just going to, if you are outside and if it is warm, you're going to be able to knock back the shine. But that is our makeup all done. I just think it is so pretty. It's perfect for wedding guest, and it's easy, and it's not going to budge all day. It will not move. So I really hope you enjoyed that one and you might give it a go, and I will talk to you soon.